We are live.
I would throw the switch.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Vesuvius regular open meeting of council, November the 23rd, 2021, at 2 p.m. in council chambers. We will first need the approval of the agenda, and there are no late items. Mrs. Hilson, good. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And we have the adoption of some minutes, and there are 4 of them here. The special open minutes of November the 2nd, the special open minutes of November the 3rd, the special open minutes of November the 4th, and the regular open minutes of November the 9th. So could we have a motion, please? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Harvey, all in favor. Thank you. And we will move down to water matters. And for water districts 8 and 9 financial accounts to report on expenditures from accounts payable for water councillors and council to receive for information purposes. So water district cash requirements as of November 23rd are in the amount of $6,977.12. Councillor Morera, Councillor Appleby is seconding that.
Do we keep it that much every month?
I'm not sure. You would have to check with Mr. Zappel.
Good luck.
Good luck. Okay, so any questions, concerns? Okay, all in favor? Thank you, that's carried.
Mayor McCormick, I
sorry,
just
yes.
want to note for the members of the public, because it would have been the public hearing for zoning amendment bylaw 1085-140. That bylaw has been, the public hearing has been postponed due to a procedural error and will take place on December 7th at 6 p.m. There will be Zoom availability for anybody to either participate electronically or by telephone, and or members of the public can attend in person in council chambers. There will be advertisements in the newspapers, and the notices will be hand delivered to the properties that are.
Okay, thank you.
And
Mrs.
written submissions are always welcome as well. The notice will include the details of where to send those.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next is correspondence, and it is the Destination Vesuvius budget and tactical plan for 2022. It has been provided here, and a summary, and we have had Miss Glazer, yes, Kelly, come to our last meeting. So she did quite a report on what Destination Vesuvius is doing, and this was the marketing plan that she said she would send by the end of the month. Am I correct?
Yes.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to it?
Not really, Your Worship. This has been reviewed by the DO board. That includes a member of town council, Councillor Bennett. It's too bad he weren't here because he would have been involved in the review and approval of this.
Great.
It's one of the terms of the fee for service agreement the town has with Destination Vesuvius, that they provide a marketing plan and define their operating tactics and goals and strategies each year by the end of November. And so this is here for council's receipt and approval. If there are any questions regarding it, I'll do my best to try to answer them. Ms. Glazer couldn't be here today because the Destination Vesuvius annual general meeting is today at this time as well.
Okay, so what we would need then is just a motion to receive and approve the budget and tactical plan. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you very much. And next is the Okanagan Basin Water Board. And I think I did mention the last time some of the things that were on here. Quite an interesting presentation from a group that's doing microplastic pollution in Okanagan Lake, and they were funded by the water quality grants that the Okanagan Basin Water Board puts out. And they're looking at it and taking samples from different places and just looking to see whether there is microplastics in there and how dense they are and the types of microplastics. So they plan to have a final report, I think, in February. And the grants are available again. So the Okanagan Basin Water Board gives out, I've forgotten, I think it's just gone up $350,000 in water WCQI grants, which is water conservation and quality improvement. And this year, you can go on the website and get more information, but the theme this year is source water protection. So I think that's probably a good one to have. And there was the water board approves a 2022-23 budget of $3.69 million. And that includes all of the programs, the sewerage grants, the water management grants, all of those things are part of it. So it's always an interesting time for me to go to those meetings, and I certainly enjoy them. So I'm always happy to answer any questions about this. I know one more thing, and I should mention this. This is really important. The groundwater licensing. The Water Sustainability Act, which was adopted in 2016, is now people using well water for non-domestic use. Farms and community water utilities must obtain a license by March 1st. But residential well owners are not required to get a license, but they're encouraged to register their well, because if someone else puts a well close to them, the province has a record of that. And so it could cause your well to deplete in water, or, it's just a good idea for everybody with a well to register it and make sure that that the province knows where your well is. So I think that's a good thing to remember. Okay, next. Oh, I think I need someone to approve
Yes.
approve the receipt of that report. Thank you very much, Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And next we have some staff reports, and that would be Mr. Zackel.
Okay, so this is, I believe, the public input into the 2022-2026 budget. So the 2022 to 2026 budget presentation was made to council at a special open meeting on October 25th. An advertisement was placed in the News Times for November 4th and 11th, asking the public to input into the budget, as well as on e-news that was posted on November 1st. There were two responses that were received. The first one was the Osceola Lawn Bowling Club. Now, as per their attached letter, the Osceola Lawn Bowling Club have asked council to consider including a building for the Osceola Lawn Bowling Club when considering the redevelopment of the old museum location in the town's long-range planning. In our current 5-year capital budget, one of the projects scheduled in 2023 is the Parks Master Plan Strategic Park Planning Project. And through this process, a number of items will be reviewed and considered to be included in town's park areas. The second request that we had received was Cy Marcelli. And as per the attached facts received from Mr. Marcelli, he is asking council to reconsider current and former senior staff's decision not to waive photocopy fees when he was making his request, as well as having council reconsider their council's resolution to uphold their bylaw. So implications under community, section 166 of the community charter requires council to undertake a process of public consultation regarding the proposed financial plan before it's adopted. Council has asked for public input through the advertisement in the local paper on November 4th and 11th, and on e-news submitted on November 1st. Organizationally, there's no impacts. As far as budget, depending on council's direction, the budget may need to be amended if changes take place. Significant dates, public input into the 2022-2026 budget is required to the financial plan or before the financial plan is adopted.
sustainability, working to ensure maintaining levels of service for the community and financial sustainability to the town. So at this point in time, I'd like to deal with item number 1, the Suisse Lawn Bowling Club. And the recommendations before council is to receive public input for information, or option 2, to provide direction to staff, or have staff provide further direction.
Council, what is your wish? Councillor Harvey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would move option 1, that we receive it for information.
Thank you. Is there a second for that? Councillor Rhodes? Did you want to speak to it? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor McCullough. Just for clarity, so we received these 2 requests. How do they become part of the decision-making process? You know, we obviously all have opinions about it, but it'd be nice to know that we're going to consider the request. Do we do that through the budget process, or?
Ultimately, with this first request being the Suisse Lawn Bowling Club, there's a number of things that are going to happen down at that area. And I would assume that a public charrette would be one of those ideas, a committee, possibly things of that nature. That's at this time, or that's the appropriate time for this request to be discussed amongst that, to be rationalized, reviewed. I also highlighted that we do have our Parks Master Plan strategic plan in our 5-year capital plan already, which is another avenue for this item to be addressed or talked about, so that it's not forgotten. So what we would be doing is this letter would, receive for information, but this letter would also be forwarded to the Director of Planning so that it's there for moving forward in the future.
And there's a lot of correspondence with the second request. Some of it good, some of it not so good, that kind of thing. I don't want to pass judgment on anything, but it is a request from a member of the public. Will we consider that at some point? Or do that? No.
We will deal with that now. That's why we're dealing with the 2 separate.
So if we, pardon me, if we proceed with the motion as it's presented right now, it would appear to me that we would just bypass that.
We are only talking about item request number 1 right now. So if we receive for information, we're only talking about the Suisse Lawn Bowling Club.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And I understand, I think planning is looking at doing a new updated park strategy or plan next year. Or charrette, so I guess this is where this would go.
2023 and 2020.
2023, so there'd be wait 2 more years.
Yeah.
Okay. And do we respond to these requests from what comes here, or are they just listening?
We would respond to them.
Okay.
We can't leave it hanging.
Okay.
So that's the first one. We would then pass it to planning and they would add it to when there is a charrette. And I know it's in the works. And so now do we go on to the second request?
Do we need to vote?
Do we need to vote?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is then that we would go, that we would receive number 1 for information, and it would be responded and sent to the person who sent the letter, and also to the planning department. Is that correct? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. And now do we move on to the second request?
Yes.
Is there anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Rose.
Do we have any idea, like, there's a lot of words in the correspondence that's attached to the request, just so we can make it a little bit more simple. Do we have any idea what the cost of this request would be? Doesn't have to be exact, just.
Well, this, there's been a grand total of 22 FOI requests by this individual in 2021 alone. What it costs for the cost of photocopying When an FOI request is completed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the first 3 hours of an FOI request are free for staff's time, other than the cost of providing the photocopies. And it's at the reduced rate of 25 cents per copy, not the normal 50 cents per copy, which is in our admin fees and charges bylaw. These requests that we receive aren't taking 3 hours to complete. However, they are costing the municipality far more than we recover in funds for it. So in some respects, I wish the cost for an FOI request was actual cost rather than the first 3 hours free.
So can I ask if there was an allowance to waive the photocopying fees, does that mean that FOI requests would cease? I don't think one actually goes with the other.
The bylaws are established for reasons. Fees are established for the other reason. FOI request is not a municipal bylaw. I believe it's a provincial.
It's a statute and the fees recoverable under a schedule to the act.
So I mean, these aren't unjust fees that are being charged. We get charged every time we run a piece of paper through the photocopier. We are charged a per copy charge that we have to pay to the vendor for the service and maintenance of that machine as well. So any requests that we get through reasonably, we're not gouging anybody by what we're doing.
The other thing that needs to be considered with this is that there are other options than having a printed photocopier. There are a couple of other options that people go on the computer and read it. They can go on the computer and download it, go to the library if they don't have a computer, and there is always a copy in at the front desk that people can look at. So I think that we are offering options for anyone who wanted photocopy, and if there was something specific, then there is a fee attached to it. Go ahead, Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I move to deny the request.
Thank you, and it's seconded. Anybody else want to? All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, next on our list here is the Mrs. Hilson, the Miter Finch,
Yes.
whatever it is.
Thank you, Council. Thank you. At the special meeting of October 25th, Council approved in principle that the Human Resource Information System, the Miter Finch software, could be moved forward into the 2022 budget. As Council is aware, the Corporate Services Department has been working on file retention, electronic records management. In conjunction with the town's Financial Services Department, staff reached out to different HRIS providers to find a product that would meet the needs and objectives of all the departments. Miter Finch's software best met the town's requirements in meeting the needs of the organization, deployment, and maintenance costs. In correspondence with the representatives from Miter Finch, staff are notified that there are pricing changes for the software starting January 1st of 2022, which would increase the cost of the software. Staff are requesting pre-budget approval on the HRIS software Miter Finch to secure the current year's pricing and to be able to sign the agreement with the company. So implications for the community are none. Organizationally, Miter Finch will provide better record keeping, improved HR report qualities, and improve HR's overall efficiency. Budget, the $17,000 is a one-time capital expense for the town, and the yearly software support cost of $1,030, not including taxes each year. Significant dates before January 1st, when the cost of the software would increase. And so options before council are: number one, that council provides pre-budget approval in the amount of $17,000 for the Miter Finch software. 2, that council does not provide pre-budget approval in the amount of 17,000 for the Miter Finch software, and it be included in the 5-year financial plan bylaw for council's consideration. And 3, that council directs staff to remove Miter Finch software from the 22 budget. And staff's recommendation is option 1, that council provides pre-budget approval in the amount of $17,000 to secure the 2021 pricing on the software.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Member. I'll move option 1, and I just have a question.
Sure, your seconder, Councillor Harvey, thank you very much.
Did you-
Go ahead.
What was going to be the proposed increase in the software?
I didn't ask what the 22, but he said it was going up.
So we don't know this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Just, we did secure the 20.
Christmas shopping.
Well, it's-
Black Friday coming up.
That's where it goes.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, all in favor. Thank you very much. Okay, Mrs. Hilson, get on it.
Yes.
And next is the regular council, committee of the whole and select standing committee meeting dates for 2022.
So section 127 of the community charter requires that a schedule of the date, time, and place of all regular council meetings to be held during the year be prepared and made available to the public at least once a year. In addition, notice of availability of the schedule must be published annually according to section 94 of the community charter. The notice must be posted on the public notice board at town hall and published for 2 consecutive weeks in the Times Chronicle. Provisions of the council procedure bylaw make the notice requirements for regular council meetings applicable to committee of the whole and standing and select committee meetings as well. Council adopted council procedure bylaw number 1367/2020 at the special open meeting in November of last year. This changed council meeting dates to the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month. And typically in the past, council would cancel the first meeting in January due to the office being closed over Christmas holidays. However, due to the change, the first meeting in 2022 would be Tuesday, January 11th, and staff do not feel that it's necessary to cancel this council meeting. Staff have prepared a 2022 council meeting calendar for council meetings and conventions. SILGA is being held in Salmon Arm from April 26th to 29th. FCM is being held in Regina, June 2nd to 5th. UBCM is being held September 12th to 16th in Whistler. If SILGA and UBCM are not canceled due to COVID, council may wish to cancel the April 26th and September 13th council meetings so that they can attend. Historically, council has also canceled one meeting in July or August. If council chooses, they can reduce the number of meetings in July and August. And if there are any urgent matters, a special open meeting of council can be held. So staff are suggesting canceling the July 12th and 26th meetings and instead hold a meeting on Tuesday, July the 19th. This would mean there are 3 weeks from the June 28th meeting and 3 weeks from the August 9th meeting. Staff are recommending canceling the last meeting in December, which would fall on December 27th, as typically the town office closes between Christmas and New Year's. A schedule for the 22 meeting dates for the regular committee of the whole and council committees have been comprised for consideration by council with the recommendation of the July meeting dates. If a meeting needs to be amended, the corporate officer and or the mayor can sign a notice of a special meeting and post on the public notice board at town hall as per council procedure bylaw number 1367 and the community charter. If a special meeting is called and in accordance with section 127, there must be at least 24 hours notice given by posting a copy of the notice at the regular council meeting place, posting a copy of the notice at the public notice board, and leaving 1 copy for each member of council at the place where the member has directed the notices to be sent. At a special meeting, only items included in the notice may be discussed, and additional or late items cannot be added to a special meeting agendas during the meeting. The town of Osoyoos streams the committee of the whole, special open and regular meetings on their website, and the regular open meeting is also available on eSync's community channel. The town of Osoyoos is committed to providing open, transparent, accessible, and accountable government to the Osoyoos residents. So implications for the community are a clear schedule on council meeting dates, organizationally and budget none, significant dates before December 31st, notices required, and sustainability, regularly scheduled meetings and providing notices as required under the community charter. And so options before council is that if council approves a notice break of the regular committee of the whole and select standing committee meeting dates for 2022, and direct staff to give notice as required by the community charter. Or 2, that council amends the schedule of regular committee of the whole and select and standing committee meeting dates for 2022 by reducing the number of meetings in July and August. And staff is requesting direction on which option council would like to consider for the 2022 calendar year.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. I'm a little confused as to which one. I see that on the regular, you've got April the 26th.
I've left them on there
Yeah.
because council, we can cancel them closer to the date,
Right,
and then we just have to provide notice.
okay, so I think there are 3 of us that would be here for that meeting and 2 away, so that would make sense to cancel, right?
And we could still, you still have quorum, so you could still have a council meeting.
Well, can we
We can
think about
yes.
that later?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. So, council, which option would you prefer? Regular. notice, or amended?
This is number 1.
Does that make sense, Mrs. Hilson,
Yeah.
number 1? Okay. You
So
okay
number
with that?
1 would be changing the council meeting date, so we would cancel the 2 regular, like the 2nd and 4th Tuesday, and instead put it on the 3rd Tuesday. So that gives you 3 weeks in between both meetings.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? Anybody have any questions?
So we need a
Okay.
seconder on that one.
Oh, yes, Councilor Rhodes, second to that. All in favor? Okay, good, thank you very much.
I was saying, comment.
Sure.
Number 2 actually took the meeting off in July, number 1 didn't.
And that's why I was reading them both
The way
too, and I'm
you're-
confused. Which one is it?
Well, because my notice has it on as July 19th, which is here's the notice here.
Charter, and I guess when I look at the council, not on the calendar, but just so that it shows one date, and on the calendar, it shows one date in July. Number 2 implies that that would be correct the way I read it, but number 1 doesn't.
Number 2 indicates you'd also consider a reduction in the number of meetings in August, so.
So, but number 1 doesn't say we're gonna only have 1 meeting in
Yeah,
July.
because
The notice included with the agenda indicates that. So
Okay.
So we're okay and we can
Yes.
change it in the spring
Yeah.
via, okay,
Okay, that's one.
thank you. We've got that,
Yes.
we're all set,
Yes.
okay, thank you very much. And next is the respectful workplace discrimination, bullying and harassment policy.
Thank you. At the regular open meeting of June 15, 2020, council adopted the respectful workplace discrimination, bullying and harassment policy, HR 013. The respectful workplace policy states that the town of Osoyoos is committed to being a safe and professional workplace where staff, contractors, and volunteers of the town are treated with respect and dignity. Staff continuously review the town's policies on an ongoing basis, and in review of the policy HR 13, it is being recommended that the following changes be made to the policy, which are highlighted in yellow for council's review. In section roles, rights, and responsibilities under complainants, the following changes being recommended. Currently, it says complainants have a right to make a complaint and receive a copy of the complaint and be informed of the status and progress of the investigation. A recommended change is that complainants have a right to make a written complaint and receive a copy of the complaint and be informed of the status and progress of the investigation. In section complainant resolution procedure under step 3, formal complaint policy, the following changes being recommended. Currently, it says A, the formal process involves an object and fulsome investigation of a complaint of discrimination, bullying, or harassment brought forward to the attention of a supervisor or the CAO or their designate, mayor, or by the facilitator. B, file a complaint. Individuals can formally report incidents or complaints of workplace discrimination, bullying, and harassment, either verbally or in writing. When submitting a written complaint, individuals are to use the respectful workplace complaint form, which is Appendix A. When reporting verbally, the person who receives the complaint, along with the complainant, will be required to fill out the respectful workplace complaint form. A recommended wording is that A, the formal process involves an objective and fulsome investigation of a complaint of discrimination, bullying, or harassment brought forward to the attention of a supervisor or the CAO or their designate, mayor, or by the facilitator. And B, file a complaint. Individuals can formally report incidents or complaints of workplace discrimination, bullying, and harassment in writing. When submitting a written complaint, individuals are to use a respectful workplace complaint form, see Appendix A. So it's been recommended that all complaints be made in writing to help with the investigation process and that all relevant facts are communicated. So implications for the community, ensuring that the town employees are conducting themselves with the highest standards to maintain and enhance the public's trust and confidence in the delivery of town services. Organizationally, that the town of Osoyoos is committed to providing a workplace that is free from discrimination, bullying, harassment, and complies with legislation. There are no budget or significant date implications, and sustainability, ensuring a safe and professional workplace for staff, contractors, and volunteers, and maintaining the public's trust. So options before council is that council amends respectful workplace discrimination, bullying, and harassment policy HR 013. That council defers respectful workplace discrimination, bullying, and harassment policy HR 013 to staff for changes. Or 3, that council does not amend the respectful workplace discrimination, bullying, and harassment policy HR 013. And staff are recommending option 1, as the town should commit itself to being a leader by promoting an inclusive, respectful, welcoming environment for anyone who works, volunteers, or conducts business within the organization.
Thank you. Council? Okay with this, Councillor Harvey?
Yes, I'll move the staff recommended option.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Councillor Rdos is seconding that. Any concerns? It sounds like the gist of it is a written complaint, and that makes sense. Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, next is the airport agreements, and that's you again. Ms.
Yes.
Jones.
Thank you. So council approves on an annual basis license to use agreements with Wine Country Racing, which is known as WCRA, Penticton Model Aviation Club, PenMAC, and most recently the Osoyoos Model Aviation Club, OMAC. These requests are approved on a 1-year term in compliance with Transport Canada's regulations. And the town's aerodrome is not a controlled airspace, and drone pilots and model aircraft pilots may fly with caution in the area as long as they ensure they avoid the established traffic patterns for regular aircraft. So the Canadian aviation regulations applies to remotely piloted aircraft systems, which include drones and model aircrafts. Any drones that weigh between 250 grams and 25 kilograms must be registered. And furthermore, to fly a drone within the weight parameters listed above, the pilot must obtain a basic or advanced pilot certificate. However, there's an exemption for the requirement set out in the Canadian Aviation for members of the Model Aeronautics Association of Canada. So both PenMAC and OMAC belong to the Model Aeronautics Association of Canada, so the exemption would apply to them. Wine Country Racing has been using the Osoyoos Airport since 2006 for drag racing events. They are a non-profit society whose main goal is to provide a safe, back to the basics outlet for those with a need for speed. WCRA was established in 2002 and is a volunteer-run organization. Typically, they host 5 racing weekend established weekends from May to September, while they use the October date as a rain date. So the town requires WCRA to provide us with 48 hours notice prior to any activities taking place to ensure that a note hand is placed on the airport. And they are responsible for cleanup of the lands after each event, and they pay the town a 33% share of net ticket sales and participant fees. There's been no issues in the past with the use of the airport by PenMAC or OMAC. Both user groups are requesting an agreement for a 1-year term from January 1st to December 31st of 2022. Insurance is provided through the Model Aeronautics Association of Canada in the amount of $7,500,000 for bodily injury and property damage, as well as independent liability. Staff will be reviewing the fees and charges bylaw in the new year and will be proposing a nominal cost for PenMAC and OMAC for 2023. Staff have notified the user groups of the potential costs for providing the lands for their use, and a report to council regarding that would be prepared. WCRA did not host racing events in 2021 due to COVID-19. They're requesting the following dates for 2022, May 14th to 15th, June 4th to 5th, June 18th to 19th, September 10th to 11th, September 24th, 25th, and the rain dates of October 8th and 9th. Community for implications, both PenMac and OMAC clubs provide a recreation opportunity for local people and brings other people to town to participate in the activities. WCRA brings visitors to the community during their racing events, and there's a potential to noise impact from the neighbors surrounding the airport. But their events are during the daylight hours and are off limited duration, are in limited duration. Organizationally, staff time and preparing, recommending, and monitoring the contracts. So options before council is that council approved the agreement between with Penticton Model Aviation Club for the use of the Osoyoos Airport for the term of January 1st to December 31st, 2022, and that the signatories for the town be authorized to execute the document. Number 2, that council approve the agreement with the Osoyoos Model Aviation Club for the use of the Osoyoos Airport for the term of January 1st to December 31st, 2022, and the signatories for the town be authorized to execute the document. And number 3, that council approve the agreement with Wine Country Racing for the use of the Osoyoos Airport for the term of January 1st to December 31st of 2022, and that the signatories for the town be authorized to execute the document. 4, that staff be directed to make changes to the agreement and return to council for further review. And 5, that council does not approve the agreements with Penticton Model Aviation Club or the Osoyoos Model Aviation Club or Wine Country Racing for the use of the airport. And staff's recommendation is options 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do you want 3 different
Yes,
resolutions? I'll move the staff recommended option number 1.
For the Penticton Model Aviation Club. Are you seconding that? Okay, Councillor Harvey seconding that. Any concerns? Let's vote on that one. All in favor? Thank you. How about option number 2? Councillor King, and that's for Model Aviation Club, City's Model. Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. All in favor? Thank you. Number 3. Councillor Harvey, you're seconding that. Wine Country Racing, all in favor. Thank you very much.
So I have Councilor Harvey moved and who seconded? Sorry.
Councillor, I don't know, pick one of them.
Number 4.
I think it was Councillor King, was it? I'm not sure. Doesn't matter, no, I'm sorry. All right, so we're good with that. And we will now go to okay, so this is general net payroll and Sunbowl Arena financial accounts. And to report on expenditures from accounts payable and payroll information council received. General cash requirements as of November the 23rd in the amount of $229,616.16. And Sunbowl cash requirements are $12,963.96. And net payroll accounts $109,977.98. So the options are for council to receive those as noted, or number 2 to request additional information. Councillor Rhodes, number 1.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor King, you're voting seconding that. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. And next is the summary of building permits. And it looks to me like we have a window, doors and sliding upgrade for $10,000 and 2 Peanut Lake Development building 2A phase 4 and building 5B phase 4, both for $1.4 million. So the total to date is $28,024,200, and to date a year ago was $7 million. So we've got almost 3 times as many. Yeah, right. Every time I drive by there, it's quite interesting to see what has, the cement forms and buildings. Looks like they're almost ready to put a roof on soon.
Good news coming next agenda.
Oh, and here. No, we got him. Okay, so I think all we need to do with this one is to receive the document. Am I correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so could we have the Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, that we received the building permit for 2021 October? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And next Miss McKay, you're up. You want to come up and sit? Well,
I
on one of the
do,
chairs
it's
here?
exciting. No, I'm serious.
Okay, so now we get into the fun part about doing all kinds of things. So I have to keep track here of all of these
Okay.
motions we have to take. So first of all, we will ask you to give your report, please, on the zoning amendment bylaw at 6828 89th Street.
Great, thank you, Mayor and Council. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today. So through the chair, Madam Mayor, we've received an application from the Skeen Group Holdings out of Surrey, British Columbia for property located at 6828 89th Street. The owner is Narinder Burke. And the OCP designation on this property is high density residential. And we'd like to amend a portion of that property to comprehensive development. The existing zoning is high density residential, but we're looking for a comprehensive development zone to accommodate a property, a development that's higher density and a little bit, I'll get into sort of the details as we go through, but does not quite fit into the R7 zone. So the purpose of this report is request that council consider official community plan amendment, bylaw number 1230.39, 2021, and zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.139, 2021. These bylaws, if adopted, will allow for a new comprehensive development zone to be added to the zoning bylaw and allow for the construction of a multi-unit residential development for rental purposes. So for a minimum of 10 years. And I'll explain to you how we're going to secure that rental. So the subject property is located on 89th Street across Municipal Elementary playfields and within walking distance to downtown. It's currently occupied with a single family home. Now, first off, the developer is proposing to subdivide the property into 2 lots, which are shown in your report there. The first lot is a townhouse site that would face Nighthawk Drive. Then the second site, which is the apartment site, would face 89th and access from 89th. So the lot fronting Nighthawk Drive is proposed to be developed with 5 townhomes. And those homes have been designed to fit into the existing neighborhood by having 2 stories facing west and 3 stories facing east, such that when you're on Nighthawk, it looks like they fit in with the complementary to the houses across the street. And then for the remainder of the parcel, the developer is proposing to construct an apartment building with a maximum of 47 units, consisting of a mix of studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. It also includes parking to accommodate a minimum of 1.5 parking spaces per residential unit. So the site upon which the multifamily building that is a rental will be built is 0.29 hectares in size. And comments, of course, relative to the density or elsewhere in this report. So little policy context for you here. Pardon me. Our current official community plan designation of the property is high density residential. Now, rezoning to a comprehensive development zone requires that we amend the OCP to comprehensive development designation for that particular portion of the property. Now, policy 913 of the current OCP states that facilitating solutions for providing affordable rental and owner-occupied housing through private sector, public sector partnerships, and senior government support is favorable. Policy 1023 is considering CDA applications for suitable development sites within designated medium density residential, high density residential, commercial, or future development areas. Now, you'll recall that we did a housing needs report in 2020 as part of our housing needs, our OCP review that was prepared and submitted to town council and also province of British Columbia in accordance with section 585.2 of the Local Government Act. The housing needs report outlined data relating to housing needs and provides also recommendations on housing best practices. At the time the report was prepared, the housing need was estimated at 129 units. That's for 2020. Now, we all know when we've heard that the housing need is actually exceeded well beyond that. That number did not include the need for additional housing options, for example, for seasonal workers. Moreover, there is actual shortage of rental housing to meet the needs of new businesses which have been starting within the community and surrounding area. Now, extensive public consultation was conducted as part of the OCP review process, and the new OCP bylaw received first reading from council. Key policies in the new OCP directly reflect the comments we heard during the consultation process. Community members were keen to point out the link between community health and adequate housing stock. As follows: acknowledging the diversity of housing sizes in the community and encouraging a maximum of 70% of new multifamily units to include 1 and 2 bedroom units. Consider opportunities to expedite permitting procedures for development applications, proposing the provision of attainable ownership units, rental units, special needs housing, seniors housing, or congregate care facilities. And of course, recognizing the interconnection between a solid supply of affordable housing forms and new job creation. So the properties are within an area that is considered a multifamily development permit area, and so development of both the townhome site and the apartment building will require the issuance of a development permit in conformance with the multifamily development permit area guidelines. So Schedule A of the OCP includes the commercial and multifamily facade guidelines. The guidelines set forth a threshold of design expectations, which must be demonstrated in each project of the town. Within town. So the guidelines include the use of earth tones, soft muted colors, in addition to simple or plain geometry. Now, a draft development permit inclusive of a landscaping plan would be provided to council and the public as part of the public hearing package, should this proposal move forward. Attachment 4 to your current report that I provided for you does provide artistic renderings of the proposed buildings. And so also embedded in the report is an illustrated look of what the townhomes will look like from Nighthawk. So with respect to the zoning bylaw, subject properties currently zoned R7 or high density residential. The zone specifies a maximum number of 75 units per hectare. So as noted, the developer is intended to subdivide the property into 2 lots. Lot 1 would accommodate the 5 townhomes, and lot 2 would be developed with the apartment building. So now let's talk about the density details. So with a total site area for the apartment building of 0.29 hectares, or 3/4 of an acre for those that prefer that methodology, the maximum number of residential units under the R7 zone would be 21. So I provided this table here for you to demonstrate how this exact building could be reconfigured internally to accommodate 21 residential units with the current zoning. So the developer is proposing, of course, to develop the site with a predominantly 1 bedroom units. In essence, the method of calculating the density as a function of units per hectare encourages the development of 2 and 3 bedroom units. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this when we do our zoning bylaw update. So for example, if this particular property and this particular development as it's set forth, just the way it looks in the site plan, if they develop predominantly 2 bedroom and some 3 bedroom units, they could reconfigure it to have only 21 units in it, and then it would meet the density requirements of the zoning bylaw. So the way the bylaw is written right now, it kind of encourages more bedrooms within a single family unit or within a single unit. So what he's proposing to do, as you can see in the second columns, is proposing 1 bedroom units predominantly. So in order to accommodate the development which meets the needs of the community by building smaller, that is 1 bedroom units, a rezoning to a comprehensive development zone is required. So note that the distribution of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units may change also, subject to CMHA financing policies. But the maximum number of development units would not exceed 47. Okay, so I'll explain a little bit more about why that is. So comprehensive development zone and best practices. So the BC Climate Action Toolkit recommends using diverse zoning strategies for diverse communities. That includes the use of comprehensive zoning to achieve densities above what is permitted in areas which are considered walkable and therefore do not necessarily require the use of automobiles to access daily needs. So let's talk about on-site parking, because that's always contentious. So the total number of parking spaces provided would be based on a measure of 1.5 spaces per residential unit. So that would be inclusive of 2 fully accessible spaces, 1 reserved for tenant and 1 reserved for visitor space. Designated bicycle parking will also be provided within the building in the areas marked storage on attachment 4 of my report. Also, the plans indicate an indoor and outdoor amenity space for tenants. So during public consultation for the new OCP, and as part of the preparation of the Vesuvius Town Center renewal plan, we did hear from a lot of local businesses, which spoke to the fact that their workers did not own their own automobiles, not in every case, but in some cases. So it's considered that the 1.5 spaces per residential unit is considered adequate for the location, which is within walking distance of shopping, retail, and community services. So the following excerpt is taken right out of our existing zoning bylaw, wherein multifamily dwellings are currently required to provide 1.75 parking spaces. That is not the case within the area identified within this red map area of downtown. So many members of current council were on council at the time this was approved. That basically, if you're within this area of downtown, you're only required to provide one parking space for every residential unit. And this particular development proposal is 200 meters away from that reduced parking area. So about a 2-minute walk. So let's talk about the rentals. So the developer is aiming to construct a building which will address some of the current housing needs in the community. Now, as noticed previously, that requires a rezoning amendment to allow for a higher density than that's which currently permitted in the R7 zone. So as a condition of final zoning approval, a restrictive covenant will be registered on title to ensure that the building is maintained for rental purposes for a minimum of 10 years from the date an occupancy permit has been issued. So I have spoken to the developer and applicant, and they suspect it'll be actually longer than 10 years that they would rent them out. So in order to help address additional housing needs of the community, the covenant will ensure that 5 of the 1-bedroom rental units are made available for rent at 30% below market rates. Town staff, we've reached out to local service agency to discuss best practices to ensure that the below market rental units are available to those in need in our community. And the developer will be accessing some financing through the CMHC, that's Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Sorry about my acronyms again. The financing program requires the developer to hire a property manager who will be responsible for ensuring the units are maintained for the purposes intended. Upon completion of the 10-year term, the developer, that is the builder and owner at the time, would have the option to sell the individual units, and tenants may be given first option to purchase the unit they're occupying. So municipal servicing, the development proposal has been discussed with staff at Operational Services Department and the town's engineer. Municipal water and sewer service is available at the site and is scaled to meet the development needs. Further discussions would take place with the fire chief and the senior building inspector regarding on-site services to address fire flow needs prior to rezoning final approval and in conjunction with the development permits. The developer will be required to submit payment to cover road improvements for property fronting both 89th Street and Nighthawk Drive. So compliance with the Local Government Act, Section 4751 of the Local Government Act states that during the development of an OCP or the repeal or amendment of an OCP, the proposing local government must provide one or more opportunities it considers appropriate for consultation with persons, organizations, and authorities it considers will be affected. Specifically, the local government must consider whether consultation is required with the board of the regional district, the board of any regional district adjacent to our area, the council of any municipality that's adjacent to the area covered by the plan, the First Nations, boards of education, greater boards and improvement districts, and the province and federal governments and their agencies. So note that consultation under this section is in addition to the public hearing. Now, given that the proposed amendment to the OCP would allow for a use which is consistent with the OCP, that is residential, and has been identified as filling a need within the community, that's our Town of Vesuvius Housing Needs Report, and of course our recent consultation in respect of the new OCP. Staff are recommending that council consider that referral to the above noted agencies is not required at this time. However, staff will consult directly with the Board of Education as a neighboring property owner. Staff will also reach out to groups and agencies in the community who have expressed concerns with respect to housing availability. That includes Destination Vesuvius, members of the Hotel Association, Desert Sun Counseling and Resource Center, South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce, and any other organizations that may be identified by council. So section 477 Local Government Act requires that council consider amendments to the OCP bylaw in conjunction with the town's financial plan, which includes a capital expenditure plan, operating expenditure plan, and waste management plan. The basis for this consideration is that incremental OCP amendments can have a cumulative impact on the town's financial plan and need to be reviewed prior to council's second reading to the amending bylaw. The rationale being that when growth reaches a certain point, new facilities and staffing resources are needed. In this case, it's concluded that proposed amendment to the OCP, which will allow for an increase in density of units per hectare, but that the use itself as residential remains unchanged. Therefore, the proposed residential units have been identified as a need within the community and will not have an adverse impact on the town's financial plan or the regional waste management plan. So staff are in support of the proposal to rezone a portion of the property located at 682889 to accommodate a new rental apartment building. The project is considered a good start to help address the housing shortage in the community. It is, however, only one project and cannot possibly be expected to address all housing concerns. So implications for the community. The community, of course, will benefit from the addition of rental units to our housing stock. Organizationally, the preliminary development proposal package will be forwarded to outside agencies, including the Ministry of Transportation, for comment. Significant comments received through the referral process would then be presented to the public and council at the public hearing. A notice of development sign has been posted on the subject property. A notification of a public hearing would be mailed to registered owners and hand delivered to tenants in occupation of properties within 60 meters of the subject property. Then again, following council's approval of the application, a first and second reading of the amending bylaws and in conformance, of course, to the land use procedures bylaw. Now, a form of character development permit would be required for both the property being rezoned and the portion not being rezoned, and that draft development permit again will be made available for council and the public. There's no impact to the town's budget with this particular proposal. Now, significant dates, as per section 475 Local Government Act, when considering an amendment to OCP, must provide one or more opportunities in addition to the public hearing for appropriate consultation. Now, a public information will be held in Sonora Center in November. This year was originally our plan, but it's now going to be held in January. Gives us lots of time to prepare additional maps, additional scale information for the public. And sustainability wise, the property is located within a municipal service area which has been identified for multifamily developments. So the options today before council is option number 1 in 6 parts. And that is option 1A, council approves OCP amendment and zoning amendment application Z28-08. B, Z28, Z21. See what I was thinking, right? Like a car. Option 1B, council grants first reading to OCP amendment bylaw number 1230.29, 2021. C, council has considered the OCP amendment in conjunction with the town's financial plan and waste management plan as required under section 4773A of the LGA and finds it consistent with them. D, council grants second reading to official community plan amendment 1230.29, 2021. E, council resolves that a public meeting open house be held as required under section 477 of the Local Government Act respecting the OCP amendment, and that early and ongoing consultation with persons, organizations, and authorities listed in section 4752B is unnecessary. And F, council grants first and second reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.139, 2021. Or 2, council requests additional information before proceeding further. Staff are recommending option number 1.
1 with 6 parts.
That's correct.
Well, thank you very much. This is very confusing. Did you have a question or are you gonna make a?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Recorder. If we could go back to a small paragraph regarding the 10-year
Right.
covenant that
Mhm.
was intended to place on the property. And,
Right.
so we all know 10 years is a fairly long time, but in the real world, it passes pretty fast. So if you're a tenant in there and you're paying rent, and I'm gonna embellish my comment a little bit just for effect. Say there's 40 tenants in there, the 10-year comes to an end. And there's 40 tenants in there that could not afford or
Right.
because of whatever reasons to purchase
Mhm.
that, if that was the decision that was made, could cause 40 families or individuals to have to move out of there spontaneously on a particular date. And I have some concerns about that, and I'm wondering, is there other ways to deal with that, to protect the tenants that are in there? Because everybody gets into these situations, these development opportunities with the best of intentions up front. But once light kicks in and it's filled up, that could be problematic. And, you know, not being selfish or anything, just certainly would fall back on the council of the day because a decision was made to allow that to happen. And I'm just wondering if there is a better way to do that, or, you know, I understand why it's there, I get all of that, but I'm a little troubled with it.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Rhodes, through the chair. So, there is a process that, if you're doing a conversion through the BC tenancy branch, and there's anywhere from 3 to 6 months that people are given to relocate, which is, at best a little more than, say, a tenant in a basement suite whose house sells. So there is a little bit more of a cushion there. We're hoping, of course, within the next 10 years that we'll see a lot more opportunities come forth for rental units within our community. As I say, this particular applicant can't be expected to resolve all of our housing shortages, but it certainly is an issue to look at. You know, but I don't have the answer.
Go ahead.
Just for clarity, once again, because I need clarity quite often, as you can see. Is this a binding thing? Is this determine exactly what could happen at the end of 10 years? If we do our due diligence today.
If the applicant, thank you again through the chair, Councillor Rhodes, if the applicant chose to go in that direction, it would be unusual for it to be exactly 10 years that someone chose to go down that direction. But yes, that is correct. That is what it would be in a covenant.
So this would be an appropriate time to perhaps debate that a little bit.
Sure.
Can I ask, is it possible that the option of selling half of the properties after 10 years and the other half continue on? I mean, I suppose there's all kinds of ways to look at it, eh?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor McCord. That's a good question. So certainly one individual could retain ownership of any number of those units. What we would do in this particular case is we would stratify the entire building at the beginning because it makes more sense. So the owner then, after 10 years, the way it's written right now in the proposal, would have the option of selling 1 unit, 2 units, 5 units, to any number of units, not necessarily all X number of units that are within the building.
I agree. It's a tricky one. Did you have a
Yeah, I
question? Go
do,
ahead.
thank you, Mayor. That question, I guess, if this got passed, it would be separated into 2 different lots.
Correct.
So we're really only talking about lot 2, nothing to do with lot 1. That would be in the future if someone decided to purchase it or this developer had to do something with it.
Thank you, Councillor King, again through Mayor McCord. No, the developer would build both of the properties at the same time. And they're not gonna sell the lot number one, they're gonna build those 5 townhomes. So the idea being that it's easier to construct those townhomes when there's nothing downslope of them.
Okay, so then I have another question then. It's on page 23 on my computer. It looks like lot 1 infringes on lot 2 in the corner there. I see the lines there, the property.
I'm not sure that I understand what you mean. There
Well, the
are,
dotted line on the diagonal separating the 5 condos or whatever they are,
right,
infringes on lot 2.
the neighboring property.
Yes,
No, just for clarity, that line at the north part of the, that runs perpendicular.
Yep.
That line is used in survey purposes for the purposes of measuring the length. That's not,
I'm talking the lines on the angle.
they don't infringe on the neighboring property.
Well, don't you need 20 feet? I guess it just cuts the corner.
Maybe when there's some more specific.
Well, this is an
Well,
actual drawing. This is
it-
an actual drawing.
It is, and I could make it larger for the next meeting if we decide to
Oh, no,
proceed.
I've got it pumped right up. Anyhow, to me, it looks like it's infringing on where it says storage there, right on the corner, so there is no. I mean, you're more talking about that foot, I guess. Since the guy's developing both.
Oh, I can speak to that. That's because it looks like the footings are there. Yeah, yeah, I can explain it better on another drawing for you.
Okay, which drawing?
Pardon me?
Which drawing you want me to look at?
I'm going to bring you another drawing.
Oh,
when we
okay,
move
okay,
forward
that's
with
fine.
it, so
Okay, I was
that's,
just kind of curious.
so that you can see what the drawing is, the labeling, et cetera.
Sure. Councillor Harvey has a question.
Not so much a question, a comment. I mean, like, not getting into the weeds, because I don't think an OCP amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment is the appropriate time to get into the weeds. I think this is very exciting. And I think we should move forward. And then as the details emerge about lot overlaps and whatever, we'll resolve them. And so I want to move option 1A.
Thank you. Is there somebody who'd like to second that?
Yes.
Jim will second it. So 1A is that we first reading to official community plan amendment, but
No,
approves the OCP amendment and zoning amendment application.
yes,
Well, that's what it is. So that's moved and seconded. And, you know, just before we go on, and I'm hoping this is in the right place, I'm looking at the parking when you were talking about it. And my concern is, and maybe it isn't a concern, is there enough at 1.5 spaces per residential unit that we do not have visitors parking along the street? Because that would concern me. We call that Happy Hollow, that section in town. It's always been called Happy Hollow. And it's, the school is right there and there's a lot of crossing there. And I would just be concerned if there was more parking needed, that it would be done on the street. Is there any way we can protect that or put yellow lines on the street or something? I don't know.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I mean, I think over the long term, there'll probably be yellow lines on both sides of that street. Not at this particular time, there isn't, but certainly there is on the school side.
Yes.
That there's no parking on that side. I personally, as professional planner, think 1.5 spaces is ample parking.
Okay.
I recognize that that is one parking space per unit, plus additional spaces for visitor parking, certainly. I live in a condo building right now that has 2 parking spaces per unit and half of them are empty. So, I mean, I don't think that everybody has a car anymore,
Okay.
certainly not in, hopefully a rental building.
Not-
But nevertheless, that is gonna be challenging for them to get 1.5 parking spaces on site at 47 units. You're gonna see the
Yes.
number of units decrease.
Yeah, no, but I agree. We can work through
We
it.
can work through that, certainly.
All right, so we have option 1A has been moved and seconded. We have not voted on it. Am I correct?
No.
Okay, all in favor? Good, thank you. And now we're looking for 1B. Councillor Rhodes,
I'll move recommended option 1B.
first reading official community plan amendments to seconder. Brian is seconding that. Councillor Harvey, all in favor? Okay. 1C, the OCP amendment in conjunction with the town's financial plan and waste management plan. Councillor Harvey, Councillor King, all in favor? Thank you. Council grants second reading to the official community plan amendment bylaw. I'm assuming that's Councillor Harvey because he's voted for the first one. And Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. All in favor? Okay, and 1E, we resolved that a public meeting will be held. Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor? Thank you. And F, council grants first and second readings to the zoning amendment bylaw. Councillor Harvey, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor? Thank you. So, we okay?
Yeah, that was a,
Are
it
we?
was,
The,
lot of work.
can I just ask on the little picture of it, the one that Jim was referring to, is the part beside parcel 2 that is that part, the two rectangles there, is that another property or is that for parking?
I know what, thank you. I understand what Councillor King was, what he was looking at now. So basically, these lines up here, see them, that make it look like it's on the other property? They're an extension of the units to determine the unit size. So that's those two lines that extend towards the east, extend the unit size, and then they're measured on that line that looks like it's on the next lot. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Does it really?
When you bring it forward, we'll discuss it.
Okay, I look forward to it.
So my question is on 89th Street.
Yes.
So at the north end, there are two rectangular pieces. Is that part of the property or is that a separate property there?
That's correct, it's separate. You mean these ones here, Mayor McCordock, or up here?
I don't know, I'm looking
We're on a
at,
different page.
I'm looking at this one here.
Okay,
And I'm looking at those two rectangular pieces at the top there. Is that a different property? Okay,
that's a different.
it's not part of this
No.
one then. All right. So the parking, my guess is down at the front, closer to 89th Street. Is that where the
Thank you,
parking
Mayor
is?
McCordock. The parking for the apartment building is the first level underground, or
Okay.
under the building and in front,
Oh.
and in front.
I know, well, and I did look through them all, but there's several here. Okay,
So the current, just so you know, the current site plan shows only 55 parking spaces. So they're gonna have to decrease the number of units to get to 145.
okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. So we're finished with that one, and now we are on page 142, the Town of Surrey's official community plan consideration. Is that where we are now? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Would you like to go ahead
I
with that
do,
one then,
thank you.
please?
Thank you, Mayor McCordock. So gonna go through this one methodically because there's quite a bit of information here. So again, the town embarked on our comprehensive review of our OCP in late of 2018. We looked at the background information from early 2019 and public consultation in the summer of 2020, extended through 2020, and of course, slowed down a little bit with the pandemic, but here we are, we ramped up again. And the bylaw was read for a first time on August 24th, 2021. We then referred the staff to the following: Interior Health, Vesuvius Indian Band, Ministry of Agriculture, Fish and Food, Food and Fish, Regional District, Okanagan Similkameen, Ministry of Forest, Land, Natural Resources, the Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure, and School District 53. We did receive comments back from Interior Health, and those changes, you'll recall, were incorporated into the first draft that went to council for first reading. You'll recall we did those ones from Interior Health. So Ministry of Agriculture, Fish and Foods provided comment, Agricultural Land Commission, the Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure, School District 53, and the Regional District Okanagan Similkameen also all received comments and or support. So Schedule B to my report here includes the comments received from those agencies, 2 through 5 as indicated above. So the comments received from Interior Health, again, they were discussed and addressed at the first reading of our bylaw. Now, the following section provides a summary of changes that are being proposed in consideration of section 477 Local Government Act. Now, the 477 Local Government Act requires that after first reading of the bylaw, we must consider the proposed official committee plan in conjunction with our financial plan, our waste management plan, any environmental management acts that are applicable. And if the proposed OCP applies to agricultural land, we must also refer to the Agricultural Land Commission. So Schedule A of this report outlines the specific changes that are being made, inclusive of minor map amendments as noted in the following sections, and in response to the comments received from the Agricultural Land Commission and the Ministry of Ag, Fish and Foods. So also the changes are redlined in the attached bylaw, all right? So again, note that really not all the recommendations made by the referral agencies are included in the proposed amendment. And I'll speak to those. In those cases, reasons for not making the changes is also outlined, and I'll just briefly speak to those. It's important to note that following receipt of the comments from the ALC and the Agriculture, Fish and Foods, I met with the consultant at Urban Systems, and we also met on an online meeting with the ALC staff and discussed at length some of the issues that they raised, okay? So the final result was a compromise between the requests that the ALC asked for and the direction the town is considering. And that speaks mostly to those future development areas. So I'm going to speak to how we're going to address that. So the most substantial change, again, was the removal entirely of the future development designation for lands that are located on the east side of town. The Agricultural Land Commission felt very strongly that unless we have a specific plan for development, those lands should be left in the ALR. The ALC would consider a traffic corridor through the ALR land located east of 51st. So that's the Wish property, just so we all know. So it's also determined that if that would address traffic flow issues for East Osoyoos and the Osoyoos Indian Band, they will be willing to consider that. And they also advise that we can leave that on the future transportation planning map, which is a good thing. So further discussions would take place in the future with respect to the proposed transportation corridor. So then with respect to the other parcel that was identified as future development, which was on 56, which is behind Walton's. We talked about that previously as an agricultural land removal, a proposal to remove the land from the ALR. The ALC said that they would actually consider that a proposal to remove it if we actually came forward with a substantial plan as specifically that addressed housing needs in our community at the affordable level. So in other words, if we came forward with a proposal for condominiums or townhomes that were going to be market rental or market sale, they wouldn't consider it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that if the owner comes back to speak with us. So again, important thing here is that the transportation route through that property that we call the Wish property still remains on the plan, and they were supportive of that. They understood the need for that. So the summary of the proposed changes, again, we need to address the 5-year financial plan. So we looked at developing a revitalization tax exemption program, which details the kind of green activities that the exemption program would target. So this is no commitment here for council. It's just that we added that to section 5G 3.2. Sorry, 6G 3.2. Now, with respect to the RDOS solid waste management plan, we're adding food waste to the residential curbside collection program and banning food waste from the curbside collection program. Basically, what we did say now is that we would support the regional district of the Okanagan-Similkameen's goal of establishing a regional composting facility to collect residential food waste, encouraging households to install and maintain personal composting systems in the meantime until curbside collection program is offered. So basically, if you look at that section, which is 16.9, helps to reduce our carbon footprint as well. So with respect to on-site composting of organic waste at agriculture operations, we've added encourage agriculture operations to use on-site composting systems. With respect to the landfill. So we looked at things like assessing whether a LFG was required under the regulation, and that's actually been completed. So we didn't have to change that in the OCP. And then updating the design, operations, and closure plan. That's in the budget for a review in 2025. So we add a little bit of direction for that in the OCP, because council's already discussed that. And then undertaking capital upgrades listed in 2009 annual report. Of course, regular capital improvements are completed at the landfill site, so no change to the OCP was required. We did add this particular statement that we would update the design, operations, and closure plan for the Azuis landfill. So in other words, in the future, we will update that closure plan. So existing policies that speak to waste management are actually addressed, and that's in the following section. So we do have already had OCP policies in there that spoke to it. So we just sort of built on those, I guess. Now, with respect to the Ministry of Agricultural referral from October 2021. So one of their comments was that they thought that agricultural lands are employment lands and should be included in that section. We found that difficult to address because we don't actually have any data on the amount of agricultural growth and development that has occurred historically to include that. So we don't really have any data on how much employment on just those lands within the town, right? So that's the interesting thing, is that, remember, there are only a certain number of properties within the town that would have employment linked directly to the agricultural use. So again, they encouraging consultation with the agricultural community about how the town will address issues such as trespassing on farmland, crop theft, and vandalism. So it's our position that it's not the town's responsibility to address those particular incidences occurring on private lands, and those particular incidences can be occurring on lands outside of the agricultural land reserve as well. So we didn't make any changes with respect to that. The Ministry of Agriculture also recognized that the viticulture industry continues to grow and plays a large part in our local economy. And so basically we added a section, that a policy that speaks to encouraging the development of additional agricultural sectors to ensure rather that the industry adapts to change and continues to innovate. This suggested that we consider a policy in there on temporary use permits for short-term rentals on ALR lands. And as you know, we've have our own challenges with short-term rentals. And of course, we're considering a program on how best to manage short-term rentals. So we felt that we would deal with an approach on how we're going to manage short-term rentals as part of our short-term rental program, not necessarily a temporary use permits. So we didn't include that. They were unclear about what the policy meant at 7A2-1D, which is about no net loss of agricultural land. So we just removed it in its entirety. Now, with respect to Agricultural Land Commission, we had quite a lengthy conversation with them, good folks, and it was really very good, very productive. And so the staff noted that the bylaw includes a context map showing the ALR boundary. So they wanted to support that inclusion of showing that boundary, but they wanted us to update it. So we did update it by including a couple other properties, and also that the ALR wasn't identified as part of the airport, so we included that. They also acknowledged that the ALR lands are subject to the ALC Act and ALR use regulation, so we updated that accordingly. A little bit more about context, exclusion applications. Now, this is a process that council is going to be made aware of, because we're updating the land use procedures bylaw. The basically exclusion applications are no longer submitted by private landowners to the Agricultural Land Commission. They must come through council first. So basically, we would be the ones putting forward a proposal to exclude land, not an individual landowner. Also, we updated the section on edge planning and acknowledged the document was created by the Agricultural Ministry of Ag, Fish and Foods. Of course, the ALC's mandate is to preserve agricultural land. And of course, we wanted to support the ALC's mandate, so we updated that section as well. Again, the ALC wanted us to clarify that private landowners cannot make exclusion applications, so we fixed that section as well. And ensuring the conditions of the approval process are met with respect to the Southeast Metal Art Plan area. So you'll recall that we've spoken about that particular neighborhood plan area recently, and they want us to update the section in the OCP that speaks to the 30 units per hectare and the 15% of units be provided as affordable. So the future land use designations, again, those two LR properties, they wanted to have us review them and endorse them. We just spoke about those. Again, they were removed from future development. Again, agricultural land reserve. Now, it's interesting, we had quite a conversation about this. You'll recall, we talked about this during the development of the OCP, where we've designated land throughout the communities other than agriculture, and it's actually in the agricultural land reserve. However, that includes most of Lakeshore Drive, a number of other properties on the east side of Cottonwood Drive. They're all subdivided into single family lots, and serves throughout the community. There's quite a bit of discrepancy, and they've been designated as other than agriculture since the first OCP. I went back a long way, and to all the paper copies. And the ALC has never noted that before. So respectfully, we said, we'd like to work with them and do a blanket exclusion from the ALC with council support for those properties that are now subdivided into single family lots. Okay, so we'll be talking about that coming to a council meeting near you soon. So also they noted that the bylaw included context map. Again, they want us to support inclusion of those properties, as I spoke earlier about, like the airport. They also noted that the bylaw proposes road construction again to connect through that which property. They had no problem with us leaving it on the map, subject to us putting a note in the legend that that's subject to ALC approval, which of course we did. So of course, staff are supportive of the proposed amendments to the OCP, which were recommended by the ALC staff and the agricultural staff at the Agriculture, Fish and Foods. No other comments or recommendations for changes were received from the referral agencies. Right now, implications for the community, again, consistent, fair, and effective regulations and policies contribute to achieving community objectives and visions. And then following council's consideration of the proposed amendments, we would then schedule a public hearing. No impact to the budget associated with this report. It's also important to continue to note to council and members of the public may be watching that the adoption of OCP does not commit council or any local government to move forward with any works or plans that are mentioned in the OCP. It's a visionary document. Again, significant dates. Staff are proposing a public hearing date, I'm going to say of December 14th, because we have another public hearing on December 7th. So long-term environmental sustainability, again, on Sears Lake and the areas of primary concern of our integrated community sustainability plan, and that is reflected in the OCP. And the Ministry of Forest, Lands, Natural Resources and Rural Development was very pleased with our section which addresses environmental concerns in OCP. So options before council are looking for options 1, 2, and 3 in the order that's presented. I'm not sure if you want me to read them to you or you want to just discuss them or have any questions. Councillor Recorda.
Maybe what we should do is go through them one at a time and just make sure if there's any questions we could.
Sure.
There's several of them here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 plus options 2 and options 3, right?
Right, so option 1, 2, and 3 will all require separate motions, and then each one under option 1 requires another separate.
Right.
Thank you, Mayor McCarta.
So you brought us quite a few separate motions today. At this
Yes, I'm the motion queen,
meeting.
out from the corporate officer and
I
the
move
CEO.
option 1A.
You've already got, you're seconding that. that the official community plan be read a second time. Okay, all in favor?
No,
You're not gonna vote on it, your worship, you're gonna move that it be amended by incorporating the changes set out in the bylaw included with the agenda.
So hang on,
1B.
we're
yeah, you're
going,
gonna vote on 1B first.
So you're gonna have to
We
have
have
it
to
moved
move-
and seconded, that it be amended, that second reading.
so we're going to, all right, so we're gonna go with 1B as our
Yes.
first option.
Well, no, so we've now got
You've
1A on
second
the
reading
floor.
sitting here idle. Now you're gonna amend it at second reading.
All right, glad you guys are here. All right, so before we vote on it, on 1A,
Somebody needs to move 1B.
It's just the same as amending a resolution.
Drew 1B.
1B,
Thank you.
seconded. Thank
Now
you.
you'll vote on 1B.
We do not vote on that.
No, you're going to vote on.
Vote on
1B.
1B.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor of 1B? Thank you. Now do we go back and vote on 1A
Yes, as amended.
Yeah, as amended. This is second reading.
as amended? So it's the reading it a second time as amended.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, did we get a mover and a second?
Yeah, that
Yes,
was the
we
very
don't-
first one.
yeah.
We had
Good grief. All in favor? Okay, now, 1C, that council vote on the
You
amendment.
already did.
You've already
Fine.
done.
Right,
And D, council vote on the second
That's
reading as
done.
amended. That's done?
yeah,
Okay, so now we're on to option number 2. That in accordance with, it's been considered the solid waste financial plan and solid waste management plan. Is everybody okay with that? Good. Counselor Harvey, Counselor Rhodes, all in favor? Thank you. And section
number 3.
number 3, you're moving that the staff be directed to schedule a public hearing. Seconded, all in favor. Thank you. And you said that was going to be on the 14th.
that's correct. It'll be inside your regular council meeting, Mayor
All right.
McGraw.
Thank you.
Miss Brittany Tuttle from Urban Systems will be in attendance.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. That's now, as from what I've got here, it's animal control and licensing amendment bylaw. Is that where we're at next?
Yes, we
Thank
are.
you. Thank you, Ms. McKay. I don't know how you keep all that stuff together in your head, but you managed to do it, so well done.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So, Mrs. Hilson, are you doing this one?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay.
Animal control and licensing bylaw number 1316 was adopted on November 21st, 2016. In April of 2018, council amended the bylaw to remove and replace Schedule D to adjust the rates of the impoundment fee for licensed dogs and dogs at large. Dog licensing rates and other adjustments to the rates have not been reviewed or changed since the adoption of the bylaw in 2016. Staff have reviewed the dog licensing rates of other municipalities in the area to see if an increase is warranted at this time. So noted in the chart below, we compared with the town of Oliver, Karameas, RDOS, Princeton, Penticton, Summerlin, Peachland, and West Kelowna, which are both the RDCO. And so there was an average, and some municipalities offered discounts. Furthermore, most places charge between $5 to $10 for a replacement tag. So staff are suggesting that council increase the dog licensing fees to the following to bring the town in alignment with other municipalities in the area. So the dog license fee shall be for a male and female unaltered dog, $60. A spayed female or neutered male dog, $30. B, notwithstanding A, if a person becomes an owner of a dog after the first day of July in the licensing year, the fee shall be reduced by $5. Notwithstanding A, if a person purchases their annual licensing by January 31st of the licensing year, a $10 discount will be taken off the dog license fee in 1A. Aggressive dogs would be at $150. Dangerous dogs would be $500. A replacement tag fee would be $7.50. Further, staff have reviewed the impoundment fee, which is Schedule D of the Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw, and are suggesting the following amendments be approved by council. So the an impoundment fee in respect to a licensed dog. Currently, we're charging $5. We're proposing a one-time, once a year, get out of jail free for the dog. Second impoundment route would be then increased to $100. Third and subsequent impoundments would be increased, or it would be $150, and then it would increase $50 for each subsequent impoundment. An impoundment fee in respect of an unlicensed dog would be $100. And just to note that that person would not get their dog back until they purchased a license. So their dog would not be unlicensed again in a calendar year. So an impoundment fee in respect to an aggressive dog. Currently it's $100, increase it to $200. Second, and any subsequent impoundments would be 200, increased to 250 in a one license year, and then we would add $100 for each subsequent impoundment. As an vicious dog, first would be increased from 150 to 200. Second would be 200 to 250, and we would add $100 for each subsequent impoundment. Dangerous dog would go from 500 to 750. Second, and then second and any subsequent impoundments would be $1,000 thereafter. In impoundment fee in respect to a cat, 30 to 50. And the biggest change would be the maintenance fee in respect of each day or part of the day, from $7 to $30. We don't think a $7 a day adequately reflects the care that is needed to for staff to take care of an animal in the pound. So bylaw enforcement officers in the new year will be working on educating the public about the town's bylaws and hoping to reach compliance by educating the public rather than handing out municipal tickets. Part of this approach is that if a licensed dog is at large and is impounded by the bylaw officers during the calendar year, the first impoundment would be free. The maintenance fee would not be waived, as there are costs in caring for the dogs while in the custody and care of the town. So transportation, food, pound, maintenance, cleaning, and staff time. This would enable the bylaw officers to educate the dog owner on the town's bylaws and trying to reach compliance through education rather than enforcement. However, in cases of unlicensed, aggressive, vicious, or dangerous dogs, that fee would not be waived, as all dogs located within the boundaries of the town of Osoyoos should be licensed, and any dog deemed aggressive, vicious, or dangerous must be kept in the care and control of their owners at all times. If the bylaw officers impound or catch an unlicensed dog, the $100 fee would still apply, as well as a $100 fine for an unlicensed dog at large, as all dogs located within the boundaries of the town of Osoyoos must be licensed, and the dog will not be released into the owner's care until the fee, fines, and licenses are purchased. Staff are also suggesting the increase to the maintenance fee charged for any dog that is impounded from the $7 to $30, and then again, as mentioned, that's to pay for the cost of staff time, food, shelter, and other necessities. So implications to the community: enhanced ability to provide animal control and enforce fines within the community. Organizationally, administration of the animal control bylaw. Budget increase to licensing, impoundment, and maintenance fees. Significant dates, none. Sustainability: continue to provide animal control bylaw enforcement within the community. Ensures continued enjoyment of parks and public spaces by the general public. So options before council is that animal control and licensing amendment bylaw 13-16-02/2021 be read a first, second, and third time. That animal control licensing amendment bylaw 13-16-02 be referred to staff for changes. Or 3, that animal control and licensing amendment bylaw be abandoned, and staff are recommending option 1, that council reads animal control licensing amendment bylaw 13-16-02 for a first, second, and third time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What's your definition between aggressive dog and a dangerous dog?
It's in the bylaw. I can look it up. if
No,
you-
that's fine.
So it is defined, clearly defined in the bylaw.
Okay, and if we find a dog that's obviously doesn't have a license, we have a compound here in town?
Yes, we do.
And how long do we keep a dog before we give them away or send them somewhere?
72 hours, I
Yeah.
think, and then it becomes the possession of the municipality to
And then-
do as it sees fit.
And then typically we would take the dog to the SPCA.
Okay.
We, in the past, we kind of wait for until the SPCA has room for the dog, and then we would transport the dog into the.
So that's all in the bylaw, that conversation?
That's just an administration, like a procedure.
That's the primary value of licensing your dog and having a tag on it all the time.
I got no
Contact
problem
the
with
owner.
increasing the fees, I'm just trying to understand the process. Number one, I didn't think we had a compound for animals, but obviously I've learned
She is
something.
very infrequently.
Where?
We use very infrequently. It's up at operational services
Okay,
in the back.
okay.
It'd be important to have one. Sometimes, RCMP after hours will attend it. Automobile accidents, and there'll be pets involved as well, and they need a place to go put them. Where they're not running around.
That's good.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCorda. Just two questions from the public. Just when you think nobody's paying attention, got two phone calls on this particular thing. First question was, do the dogs need to wear the license? And if they don't,
They can be ticketed, they can, and there is a fine and, under the municipal ticket. I believe for,
On private property, it's not
Yes.
necessary.
Yeah.
But when you take it off your own personal property.
fail to affix dog tag, it's a $40 fine, if not paid within 30 days, or $50 fine.
I guess if the guy's carrying the dog tag on and walking his dog and he can just show it to the bylaw officer, would that be all right?
Got it.
second question was, why don't we include cats in this bylaw?
There is
Yeah,
we
this
don't
one.
have a cat, we don't make cats have tags, but if we do catch a cat, it's a $50 fine.
And who do we
Yeah,
find,
but
who do
you
we know
never
where's the cat?
identify the owner though
What's up, you give us
Not a tag.
without a tag.
I would suggest if we impound animals, whether they're cats or dogs, that part of our practice should be to post a photograph and a notice of them on our website. You know, if somebody didn't know that the town had their cat, might want the cat back and we dispose of it. Well, it won't be real good.
Didn't want to open up a whole bunch of discussion with this individual, felt very strongly that cats should be treated equally when it comes to licensing, same consequences, same costs and everything.
Yeah, I get it. What about snakes and ferrets?
I think they're prohibited animals.
Yes, I was just gonna say, I think they're prohibited under our animal control licensing bylaw. There's a whole list. You cannot have a dolphin. Or
Yeah.
No exotic
gee, I was
species, no
thinking-
tiger king coming down.
no,
I wonder did you have one?
but duly noted, we could look into what
Put a
some
rag
other
in the lid.
municipalities do for cats.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if during your survey, if that was ever brought up in any of the communities.
No, I remember when they were doing research.
It's
Just-
in there.
Yeah, it's just cats, but it doesn't.
Doesn't specify licensing. I've never worked anywhere that you required to license a cat.
Yeah, well, you know,
People were bothered because cats visiting the neighbor's flower bed and vegetable garden.
yeah. So I just, you know, I'd like to, you know, maybe just bring it up for thought in the future and that kind of thing. One of the comments that was made to me was, we have the feral cat issue in our community that we have for a long time. That's a great way to bring that around. Not gonna mention all the nastiness that needs to go on, but it's a great way to deal with the feral cat issue in the community.
There are some agencies in Penticton that deal with feral cats, that type of thing. And the reason we've just been talking about it at the regional district is because we do grant and aid, which we did as part of the budget. And several of those agencies are coming and asking for assistance to get that. Okay, Brian, did you have a question? Go ahead, Councillor Harvey.
No, I don't have a question, unless Councillor Rhodes is suggesting that we refer it back to staff to deal with cats. I would move option 1, that it be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Are you okay with that, or would you prefer to?
I feel comfortable with the response that
Okay,
at some point or another in the future. will be-
so option
Consider it.
1, and Councillor King is seconding that. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Next is the municipal ticket information amendment bylaw. Mrs. Hilson.
Thank you. So staff reviewed the animal control licensing bylaw 13/16/2016, as council knows. So as you also know, we amended the bylaw to update the rates for the impoundment fee and licensed dogs. An amendment was made to the MTI bylaw in 2018, so that the fine for dog at large was in alignment with the impoundment fee, because they were at two different rates and staff wanted to ensure their rates were the same. As MTI bylaw number 1279 provides the authority for the town to fine owners who are in contravention of animal control bylaw 13/16 without impounding a dog, staff are recommending changes for the fines for dog at large to align with the fee charged for dogs who are impounded by the town. So staff are suggesting that council consider changing the fine structure for dogs at large and fee structure for dogs that have been impounded by the town in a calendar year, so that the first time a licensed dog is found at large and or impounded by the town, it would be free. As mentioned in an earlier report, staff are suggesting that an impound maintenance fee should not be waived for dogs taken into the town's care and custody, as there are costs associated with the transportation, food, town maintenance, cleaning, and staff time. In the new year, staff will would like the town's bylaw enforcement officers to promote public education on the town's bylaws to reach compliance. This new fee structure can allow the bylaw officers to work with dog owners in a positive manner through education rather than punitive enforcement. Implications to the community: enhanced ability to provide animal control and enforce fines within the community, organizationally, administration of the animal control and MTI bylaw. Sustainability: continue to provide animal control enforcement within the community, ensures continued enjoyment of parks and public spaces by the general public. So options before council is that the MTI amendment bylaw 1279/16/2021 be read a first, second, and third time. Number two, that the bylaw be referred to staff for changes. And three, that the MTI amendment bylaw 1279/16 be abandoned. And staff are recommending option one, that council gives three readings to MTI information amendment bylaw 1279/16.
Thank you. Councilor Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll move the staff recommend adoption of the amendment.
Thank you. Councilor Harvey is seconding that. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, next is the reports of committees, and we have printed in here the minutes of the South Okanagan Aquatic Center Advisory meeting held on November the 10th. And those are all in there. Councillor King, did you have anything to add to this, to these minutes?
I can't have my report, or would you like me to do now? Along with Councillor Bennett and the mayor, we were on a Zoom meeting with the Aqua Center about a month ago. If you want more information, it is on the town's website, so please go on the website and read through it. And if you have any comments, be happy to accept an email.
Sure. And that we're still in the process of looking at it, and our next meeting is on December the 15th. Okay, so do I need to have
Yes.
the received for information? Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. Thank you. And the next thing is the Community Services Advisory Committee. Councillor King, are you on that one too?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a Zoom meeting. Everybody was in attendance, but one person really discussing, just so that people know, the arena there for ice skating, and that is still at 50% capacity. So that means we can still get a couple hundred people in the building. The other things are, if you have buildings with that can hold 200 people, you're allowed 100 people. If you've got a facility that can hold up to 50 people, then you can only hold a maximum of 50 people. We are moving through with the different health issues as we move forward, and that's about it. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any questions on that? You can call Councillor King. Okay, so we need to receive the Community Services Advisory Committee meetings for information. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. Mr. Chabot, would you like to give us a report?
Your worship, it would be my pleasure. Here's a brief overview of some activities in the various operating departments over the last couple of weeks. For myself, a lot of times we spent dealing with HR and personnel matters, including the corporate services director and I reviewing resumes and covering letters and application for a position of a bylaw enforcement officer with the town of Osoyoos. We interviewed one individual who is known to us, who had worked for us last summer.
No.
The last summer, just, yeah, not this one, but the one before, 2020. We've offered him the position effective January the 15th. We're gonna change the delivery model for bylaw enforcement at the town. We're gonna try a different approach and see if it doesn't yield better results, more compliance, a better community overall. We're gonna have 2 bylaw enforcement officers employed year round. They're gonna work 4 on, 4 off. We'll have to arrange for some times where the working schedules will overlap just for knowledge transfer and continuity with respect to certain files. But we find with the current budget for bylaw enforcement, we are able to do that, and that'll see the service provided 7 days a week, year round. We think that will be an improvement. We won't hire the 2 seasonal bylaw officers in the summer months from May through to September. As council knows, this last year, we were unable to attract anyone qualified with an interest to work a short-term duration contracting bylaw enforcement in the town. So we would continue to use park ambassadors. And because of the difficulties in attracting people for those positions as well, we're going to propose that we would use student employees for park ambassadors, and they would report to the bylaw enforcement officers. So we think that this will work well, and if it doesn't, we'll adjust our sales accordingly.
Okay.
Your worship, is everyone is aware, there's been massive disruption in the province due to flooding and highway closures, damage to infrastructure. We had a meeting last week of emergency management personnel to discuss the impacts that we might expect here in supply chain interruptions, potential for emergency social services and evacuees coming here. I participated in a telephone conference with the ministers of public safety, transportation, agriculture, fish and food, and municipal affairs regarding the declaration of their emergency. What we've determined is the largest impact for us is going to be a market increase in commercial and passenger vehicle traffic through our community as a result of the road closures. Highway 1 and Highway 5 are not likely to be open anytime soon. Highway Duffy Lake is an interesting piece of road for a lot of people. So Highway 3 is likely to become much more traveled. We haven't yet experienced an increase in traffic as great as I think is coming. And that's because there's still a order under the declaration of a state of provincial emergency restricting travel to essential travel only. So I think when that restriction is lifted, we might expect to see much more traffic. We issued an e-news last week advising the community to expect this and advising local traffic that if they can use off Main Street travel routes, that might be preferable when this comes. And also encouraging pedestrian safety in the town, because a lot of people are somewhat oblivious to the fact that these large commercial transport vehicles don't maneuver or stop nearly as quickly as a passenger vehicle. We don't need any more incidents of pedestrians being struck in our community than we've experienced in the recent past. Okay, moving on, community services, there's a number of things. December 4th is sort of the Christmas kickoff for Osoyoos. The Desert Valley Running Club is having a Jingle Bell Run in conjunction with community services. The Elf in the Park and Find the Elf returns on December the 4th, and people have an opportunity to identify where the elf is, and I believe they win a prize for that. Planning winter programs, the winter program and activity guide will come out the week of December 15th. The Sonora Center will be back to regular hours starting on December 22nd, which will be Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturdays 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Some people that attend hockey games, either coyotes or otherwise, we'll notice that the spark clock has been out of commission. It's been, at Sunbowl, it's been repaired, back in work. There was a site meeting with interested contractors for the improvements to the RV sites at Desert Park. Held a week or so ago. I think there was 4 people attended. The request for quotations or proposals for that work closes November 30th. Community is reminded that the community bus is available for rentals. People can contact community services. We had a couple of minor hockey tournaments canceled due to the road closures. Minor inconvenience for us compared to disruption in other communities. Corporate services, it's been all about job postings and interviews. There's been an awful lot of change lately. It's been keeping them really busy. Council approved a whole bunch of reports that were falling around a variety of issues. The corporate services prepared for this agenda as well. Working on getting municipal tickets paid and sending some off to collections. The bylaw enforcement office has been busy dealing with dogs at large on city premises. Been getting good success at getting items inappropriately left or stored on town roads removed and dealing with other general bylaw complaints. A lot of people seem to take the idea that municipal roads are a good place to store your old motorhome, your unwanted vehicle or your wrecked car. Seen some real improvement recently, so kudos to the bylaw officer for getting those things done. Financial Services is preparing for year end and has prepared and submitted an Okanagan Basin Water Board Sewer Facility Grant, an annual grant that the town obtains. And updating the budget as required and directed, including presenting a little bit of public feedback we got respecting the financial plan. Not surprising, it's often quite limited what people are interested to provide. Planning and development, lots going on in that world, as you know. The servicing installation of works for Meadowlark Phase 2 subdivision is nearing completion. The site preparation work for the Lakeshore Drive multifamily project should start before the end of this year. Site preparations for the Sawgrass development up in Dividend Ridge is underway. As noted earlier, there's going to be an OCP public hearing for the new OCP December the 14th during the regular meeting. The construction on the extended runway and taxiway at the airport should commence soon. We've had 98 business building permit applications, as you noted, over $28 million in value so far this year. Pretty impressive year. Operational services working with the domestic water twinning water district 9 contractor to try to get that project completed. As everyone knows, it's somewhat behind schedule. We were pleased to see asphalt rolling into town, roads getting prepped before the winter season at least, getting repaired and back to normal, which is good. A lot of work getting things winterized. Winter seems to arrive, in my experience anyway, a little bit earlier in this latest than it normally does. Hopefully it returns back for more seasonal temperatures because it's really quite a delight. Staff are out hanging up the seasonal lights, preparation for light up on December the 4th. Welcomed new staff to operational services department, a utility operator, and a couple of part-timers out at the sanitary landfill. The Osoyoos Lake water main directional drill under the channel was completed. That group got in a hurry because they had been requested to go help with water line directional drilling in Princeton. So we had contemplated authorizing them to work 24 hours a day. Turned out that wasn't necessary. We've given notice to the Holiday Inn and Watermark. We might expect some light and noise. But no, they managed to get it done without the need to work 24 hours a day, which was good. We've got a draft east side densification servicing strategy report that we need to review, discuss with our consultants, and then schedule a meeting with the Osoyoos Indian Band to review that. The final design and the tendering for the improvements to Legion Beach will be going out soon. Main Street concept designs are continuing to be developed. A fleet assessment draft final report has been received and is being reviewed. This council knows procurement for the new scale in the office trailer at the sanitary landfill is underway. The active transportation plan project that we got a 50% grant for, I believe. There's a kickoff meeting for that internally with staff this week. Kickoff meeting. And it says the final item here, it says streetlights on 115. Service pole, a new service line from Strawberry Creek complete. Waiting on Fortis and a main breaker / meter panel. And then we're getting our equipment ready for the winter. And your worship, we were asked what we might do to assist our neighbors in Princeton in this kind of meeting. I've asked Director Brownstein to reach out to the RDOS's Emergency Operations Center that is supporting the effort there and ask what we might do to assist.
Okay.
Haven't heard back yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we need a motion, please, to accept the CAO report. Thank you, Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. Council reports. Councillor Bennett is not here because he had to go to a MIA meeting, a Municipal Insurance Association meeting in Vancouver. And he was, oh, look who's here. And he was planning to drive down, but on second thought, he flew, which was probably a much better idea on this stage. So he doesn't have a report. Councillor Harvey.
Nor do I. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Ditto.
Ditto. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last week I was on a conference call on behalf of the mayor. It's a mayor's roundtable conference. 4 ministers were online: Farnworth, Fleming, Popham, and Osborne. If you've been keeping track of the TV, things change every day, but at that particular time, they were working with the community of Abbotsford as best they can to fix the dike down there. They're working as fast as they can on the different highways that have been flooded and with the destroyed highways. The comment far as the Coquihalla goes, it could be weeks or months or many months more likely before it gets open, but they are trying to get the highway through, right through, and to Highway 1. If the water can recede, that'll be open. And then also last week, I also attended the airport AGM where they give an update on the proposed working with the town and what they're going to do. And it's supposed to be either this week or next week. They will be working on the extension of the runway, getting it prepared for pavement. And then they more likely will wait till spring before they look at the fencing and the tie downs. That's my report.
Thank you very much. So I've been involved in a couple of things in the last couple of weeks. I've been up at the regional district for a couple of days last week, and there's another 2 days this week. So that keeps me kind of busy. Last week, we did have a report from all of the RCMP, the superintendent plus the sergeants from each of the areas in the RDOS, and that was very interesting to have them all talk. We also talked about budget, and the RDOS budget took a couple of days to do because they have 156 different budgets, and you only pay into it if you get some benefit from it. So it makes it pretty complicated. And I did attend the Remembrance Day ceremony that was held at the Legion. It was very nicely done. There was a small number of people, and we all had to show our QR codes on our phone and so on. They were taking things very carefully and sensibly. At the end of the ceremony, they did take some wreaths up to the cenotaph because they told me that they were going to do that because somebody had asked. And also there were 3 people there that were identified as getting particular pins for long service. So one was an RCMP member who lives here now. I think his name is Mr. Stinson, and he got a 50-year pin for having been a member of the Legion for that long. And And I can't remember who the other one is. I'm sorry, I had it written down, but the one that impressed me so much was Jack Shaw, who used to be the mayor in this town for many years, and you will probably remember Jack Shaw Gardens where the splash park is. So he was well known. He got a pin for being a member of the Legion for 75 years. I mean, that was amazing. And I went and had a chat with him after. He's a very nice man and still came to the Remembrance Day ceremony. Pretty amazing. Yesterday I had my COVID booster shot. So just know that the health unit is open on Mondays and Wednesdays for shots, first, second, or third. But you do have to book an appointment, or you can either do it online or phone. And so it will continue to be open until they finish getting everybody having their shots. And last week on Friday, I was at the best play. Haven't been to one of these for a while. South Okanagan Amateur Players. It was at the Frank Venables Auditorium, and it was called Flaming Idiots. And it was hilarious. And it's on 3 times this weekend up there. I highly recommend it. So that was kind of fun to have a good laugh. And I just wanted to tell you that Christmas light up is coming. So I have a sheet here that I'm taking around to businesses tomorrow because it's we often have a merchant open house on the Friday night when the parade is on. Well, this year there was not enough time when we figured out that a parade might be possible. There wasn't enough time to get it ready. So we're not doing a parade, but on the afternoon of December the 4th, which is a Saturday, we're encouraging businesses to offer special treats or have a merchant open house between 12 and 4. And at that time, the Festival Society is going to be at the plaza beside Bank of Montreal. And we're going to decorate it in the morning, and we have some musicians coming during the afternoon. And we also have the credit union are coming down with a tent, I think, and offering cocoa, or not quite sure yet what they're doing, but they will be there. Please come down sometime during the afternoon, take a walk downtown, have a look. And we always recommend that people shop locally. So that's a good way to do it. On the 3rd, Friday morning, there will be breakfast at Smitty's again. So that is put on not only by Smitty's, who provide a free breakfast if you bring an unwrapped toy for Toys to Tots to Teens, or a cash donation. You can do that, and I will be there making coffee starting at 7. So that's there'll be lots of volunteers in there. Frosty and the elf will be there, and it's just an amazing thing that the Kiwanis does and Smitty's. So please go and do that one. There's also on December the 4th 2 other things. There is, well, 3 other, but Mr. Chabot mentioned one, the first annual Jingle Bell Run. That is over at the Sonora Center. There's also a Christmas market on Main at the Legion from 10 until 2 that day. And there is an Oasis at Christmas, stories and songs and music at JoJo's. And they have 2 shows, 5:30 and 7:30 at night in there. And it's not a big place, but I understand they've already sold out. So that's pretty amazing that people are that keen. And on December the 5th, which is the Sunday, at the Campo Marina parking lot, there is the East Side Christmas Market. So please, and of course the Elf in the Park, which was mentioned. And so please come down and support the Festival Society and the local businesses. And Mr. Brownstein, we're certainly enjoying the Christmas lights and decorations around town that are going up in honor of this, so thank you. This is one particularly for merchants, but there is a plan and it's on our town website. Please have a look at it. It's also on Facebook, the Vesuvius Festival Society Facebook. So come out and enjoy. Oh, and what isn't on here is that we are doing best decorated businesses and best decorated homes. We're not, you have up until I think the 10th of December to make sure that everything is decorated. And we have prizes for that too. So come out and enjoy Christmas. And we had snow earlier. I'm glad that it hasn't stuck around and made a mess of the roads at this point. So thank you. And now I will.
Your worship.
Yes.
Yeah, one more thing I'd like to mention just before we go offline. Wanted just to advise council that the boil water notice that was given for parts of the southwest of the community, and information is available on our website as to exactly where that is, remains in effect. Water samples taken late last week came back with bacteriological contamination. Interior Health has not given us the go-ahead to lift the order yet. We are taking samples daily, and we hope to have the system corrected and the all clear given in the near future. But just didn't want people to forget that that still was in effect. And Mr. Bronstein's here. If I muddle things up, let me know.
So thank you, because
it's been a couple
normally in my property, by this time, I've already been switched to town water. And that hasn't happened yet, I'm assuming.
No, your worship, that has happened. However, we need to make sure that the system is safe to consume before we take the boil water off. And that isn't done with collaboration with IHA. So Interior Health has the ultimate authority to release a boil water advisory, not the town, so.
So we will put out a notice, the town will, and make sure that, I think it's not a bad idea to not only put it in the paper, put it on an e-news, and I think some people listen to the radio station, and I think it would be a good idea to put it on there too when that happens, because.
We'll do some type of an update one way or another this week.
Good, thank you. Okay, so we will move into the in-camera section that, and we need a mover and seconder that pursuant to section 91K community charter, the council meeting be closed to the public as the subject matter relates to negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages, and that in view of the council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. So Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, move that.